I noticed my sister's boyfriend doing weird things for my son, like doing his laundry and standing beside his bed in the dark. Now, he went totally crazy when we left his house. In my last update, I left off with David's 44 disappearance after I found out what he did with my son's clothing and confiscated it. It turns out that David was not on the run, missing, or crashing on a friend's couch. He holed up at his parents' house and is still currently there. My sister informed me that due to my accusations of him grooming my son, David had a mental health crisis. She hopes I'm happy with myself, and she feels the need to stay with him for support. So, in other words, he's hiding at his parents' house because either the guilt is getting to him, or he's scared, or both. His entire family is infuriated with me. Whatever story he's feeding them is making me look insane in their eyes. Not once did they ask me for my side of the story. After I went to the police, my sister decided to kick me out of her home. I saw it coming a mile away, so I'm not too upset by it. I just wish she didn't feel such fierce loyalty to him and his family. I don't even know how to explain to my kid that his aunt doesn't support him. She does know I was approved for housing, and that I have no other place for our belongings at the moment, so she at least has the decency to let us keep our stuff there until we can fully move out. I guess that counts for something. David's behavior, though, got so much worse during this mental health crisis. The harassment escalated to stalking. Under the guise of wanting to clear the air, he showed up to Roman's baseball game that was held at a different school to try and speak with him. That means he found his schedule, the exact time he was playing, and the address of that school, found the motel we'd been staying at. We had to move to a different one after this incident. Created 3 other Instagram profiles to message him about how this is all a misunderstanding, how much he misses him, etc. Some of these messages were awful. Things like don't let other people make decisions for you, and you're old enough to decide who should be in your life and who shouldn't. Paragraphs and paragraphs of him pouring his heart out to my son, and begging him not to tell me that he's been reaching out. This harassment has left my son completely disillusioned. After screenshotting everything, I asked him not to read the messages anymore and to just delete them. At that point, I wanted to take his phone away, but I knew he'd resent me for that. Maybe I made the wrong decision, maybe I didn't. I don't know. The day David found our motel was one of the most traumatic moments of my life. I don't know how he found us. My sister knows I've been staying at a motel, but I never told her which one. On that day, it was about 9 p.m., and I needed to go to the corner store to grab something. My son was taking a shower and getting ready for bed, as he had school the next day. The corner store was a minute's walk away. The room we were staying in was visible from the windows of the store. I'd made this quick trip countless times. At the moment, I didn't feel unsafe leaving my kid behind, but hindsight is always 20/20. I already feel stupid, no need to tell me. David had parked at the lot across the street, and I didn't see his car. He waited until I was almost at the store and my back was fully turned to go for our motel room door. It was obviously locked, so he started knocking, but by then I had already heard him and was running in his direction. I nearly blacked out from the fear and adrenaline, and it's hard to remember much. I recall that he didn't seem angry. He just had this miserable, panicked look in his eyes. He really did look like someone who was going through a mental health crisis. I told him I was calling the police and that he needed to leave. He said that he was entitled to a conversation with me, but he ran off once he saw me dialing 911. To me, his reasoning is bullshit. He keeps saying that he wants a conversation and to clear the air with me, but if that were true, then why didn't he approach me? He knew I wasn't in the room. Why did he essentially try to break in, where he knew my son was alone? I of course documented this incident with the police, which I will get into right now. On Monday, March 27th, the day after my last update and days before the aforementioned events occurred, I went to the police for the first time. The police officer I spoke with sat me down and allowed me to talk about everything: how David was very close with Roman, what I caught him doing with his clothes, the messages, etc. I presented the evidence that I had as well. I showed the video footage and gave her the article of clothing I confiscated, as well as the text messages and Instagram and TikTok messages. She then told me she would contact the district attorney, which she did soon after. I was shocked by how fast the process was moving, and she told me that since it involved the potential intimate abuse of a minor, they didn't want to waste any time. I was interviewed again by a detective, and a couple of days later, they called David in for an interview. By then, the stalking had begun. During my second interview, I showed him the new messages David sent, and told him about how David showed up to the school and the motel. I don't know what they asked David during his interview, but I can imagine that he denied everything and spun up a web of lies to try and make me look crazy. I'm not really concerned about him, though. With all of the evidence I have, David should be very, very nervous. A detective interviewed my son as well. This is what worried me the most, and I insisted that if they didn't have to do it, I'd rather they didn't question him at all. But they said it would help build a stronger case, and I trust them. I was told I had to be there during his interview since he is a minor. Roman only knows about the stalking and harassment, but he has no idea about what David did with his clothes, and I want to keep it that way for as long as I can. I personally asked the detective not to bring it up. I'd just like to shield him from it all. They asked my son about the messages and the stalking, as well as their relationship. When asked about any physical contact they had, Roman brought something up that he didn't initially tell me about. He said there was one instance when he and David were in the living room watching a show called Stranger Things. David randomly placed his hand on my son's chest, left it there for a moment, then said, "I'm glad you're alive." I Don't really know what to make of that, but combined with everything else he's done, it's very disturbing. I asked my son about it afterward, and he said that he didn't tell me because it didn't make him feel uncomfortable. As an isolated event, I guess it could seem like an innocent act to a 13-year-old, so I understand why he didn't bring it up, but I don't know. All I can do is take his word for it. In terms of the case, they are now requesting a warrant of arrest with the clerk of the court. If this is granted, then David will be arrested and charged with lewd and lascivious behavior, harassment, and stalking. He could end up getting up to 5 years in prison, maybe even more since a minor is involved. So that's where I'm at right now, waiting for the clerk's decision. The waiting game is stressful, but I'm trying to focus on the positives as much as I can. It's nice to see how fast the police and detectives are working and how seriously they are taking my case. All I can do is trust that the outcome will be in my favor. After the interviews, all of David's harassment stopped. Good thing, too. Stalking and harassment of a minor is a felony, and I'm sure knowing that the police are onto him scared him. I'm not naive enough to feel safe, though. I filed a petition for a protective order after the motel incident. I've been feeling paranoid and having a lot of anxiety lately, always looking over my shoulder, flinching when I see a stranger who looks like him, etc. I'm entitled to a conversation with you, he said when he tried to break into my motel room, but I didn't believe him. I think David believes he's entitled to unrestrained access to my child due to their prior relationship. The entitlement is what scares me the most, that someone can just take something because they feel like it belongs to them. I'm scared to go anywhere with my kid. Anytime he goes to school, I fear that it will be the last time I see him.